Okay. It's not Saturday, it's Sunday, because we're having technical difficulties with our cameras. So we're going to work with an iPod today, see how well that works. Anyway, this is a review for Ancient Aliens, the Da Vinci Code. Or not the Da Vinci Code, the Da Vinci Conspiracy. Sorry. Anyways, what the hell's that with Mike?
And Ricky.
Alright, guys. Here we go. Second time we're going to do this, see if it works. Alright, I took notes because I had to. I was not going to wing it anymore.
I didn't take notes.
That's okay. We're going to do what we usually do. So, just do that. Aha! Anyway. Alright. Start this off. February 24th, 2011, last year. Everyone knows the last shuttle mission. If you don't know it, happened last year. It was to take the Robonaut 2 to the space shuttle, International Space Station, for its last mission. Yeah. But, I don't know, it's like, I don't know why they started off with this, but I found out why, because it's a Da Vinci, it was based off Da Vinci's creation back in 1500s, robots, awesome stuff, and it's pretty much to recreate human abilities, the anatomy, and it works just like a human being, but it's a robot. It's kind of cool. So, okay, moving on, because that's all I've ever talked about. Anyway, Da Vinci was born.
Was he?
Yeah,
was he born?
He was born a lot.
He was born. Really? Wow. Okay. I did not know that. Did not know that at all.
Anyway,
It's good to know.
he was born out just outside Florence, Italy, on February 15th, 1452.
That's a long time ago.
A long time ago. And it was at the height of the Italian Renaissance. And I learned that Renaissance really means rebirth or giving birth again. I don't know why that had to be
I knew that
put
actually.
in there, but it had to be apparently. I don't know why. People are just...
Well, it was leading into a lot of all the stuff that they talked about in the show because of rebirthing. Of
yeah, remaking the
everything.
technology that...
Yes.
Yeah, I get that now. Anyway, for some reason the Renaissance was always overseen by the church. So anything you did that was not godliness, done. Dead.
Excommunicated.
Exactly. Or that. So, anyway, Da Vinci, being the rebel that he was, felt compelled to draw a wooden shield with the face of Medusa on it, a Greek god.
Yeah, well, everybody else was drawing religious
Jesus.
symbols and stuff on their shields.
Clowns, angels.
He drew Medusa, a Greek god. I don't know.
Yeah, and his artwork
Or
was
not
so
a Greek
good.
god, but
Well, Greek Gorgonaut.
yeah.
Gorgon. Something like that. Anyway, moving on. Oh my god. Anyway, his shield that he drew, the head of the snakes looked so real that his dad felt like he was actually looking at snakes. It's pretty awesome, huh? 3D? Maybe. I don't know. Could have been. I don't
Well,
know.
of course it was 3D. It was on a shield. It popped out of the shield.
It was a painting of a shield.
Oh, it was a painting? I
It was a
thought
painting
he
of a-
made a shield. Oh, I
Maybe
don't
it was a
know.
painting of... Anyway, he was under the tutelage of this guy named Andrea Brabcio. And him and Da Vinci did the famous Constance painting. Yeah, it's Constance, right? No, the Annunciation, sorry.
Yeah, the Annunciation. I was like, oh, that doesn't
Yeah,
sound right.
anyway,
I don't know.
see, second day you forget a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, fast forward to 1989, they examined the painting to make sure it was Da Vinci's, and turned out it was.
This is interesting. Listen to this.
Alright, the angel that was in the painting with the Virgin Mary, the Annunciation, under X-ray technology, the angel disappeared. Just out of thin air, just disappeared.
All the rest of the paint is there on it, everything else, but he just disappeared. You
Yeah.
can see the background of everything behind him.
But no angel. And Da Vinci used a different form of paint than the original.
Right.
Yeah, which is weird, but how would he have that technology to pigments to make everything disappear? It's weird. It was awesome. I was like, oh, cool. There was a 2-year hiatus for Da Vinci between 1476 and 1478.
Just disappeared.
Yeah, off the historical record. No one knew where he was, what he was doing. He
No,
left town, died.
no counts of him anywhere. No works were done. No, yeah, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's ancient aliens, and you gotta have that alien theory in there where they say, well, maybe he was abducted. Maybe
Right.
he was being tutored by extraterrestrials. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was taken aboard a spaceship, like Enoch. Taught the ways of the world, the cosmos. And when he came back, he just got going on a whole bunch of inventions.
Came back with extra knowledge of like mathematics and stuff like that.
Yeah, and nothing that was outside his range before. He was just a painter, and he started doing math. He started doing anatomy. He started wanting to do science. He wanted to invent things. It was just an onslaught of stuff that he opened his mind to, or was taught to open his mind to. I don't know. And the funny thing is, like, he drew aerial maps of the city to the detail,
Exactly, yeah.
to the point, and it was insane. And then he built the very first self-propelled flying machine like 500 years before its time.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Here's an interesting thing about the Vatican. There's hidden catacombs underneath that thing where it's cold enough. If you want to dissect a body, you can do it. And Da Vinci found that out because he was interested in the human body. He would buy bodies secretly underneath the Pope's nose to figure out what did what it looked like, why it was there, what was its function, and
He wrote in detail everything that he found, and he drew also in detail everything that he found when he was doing these dissections
autopsies
and stuff like that.
and that's how we know what the human body looks like from the inside, other than our
Originally, that's
Yeah,
one of the
before
first
our
people that
medical
started
books.
doing it.
Before the medical books, this is what he was doing. It was insane. And he did really well at it. He just didn't get caught. He was in the Vatican for 3 years, from 1513 to 1516. And the whole time he was just doing stuff under the Pope's nose. And if he would have gotten caught, like I said, you'd die. Period. It's weird. And the funny thing is, every note he took, he did it in mirror writing, which is code, which is backward writing, and
Yeah, so
That
he
way-
wouldn't get caught and people wouldn't know what he was writing and everything like that.
exactly, and that way no one would steal his work, and it'd be just all for nothing. So very smart. So he adopted mirror writing. Here's the most famous painting that he's done that everyone knows. He started this painting in 1503 for a silk merchant's wife. This is the Mona Lisa, okay? And it would take up 16 years of his life because he was so
He was obsessed with the Mona Lisa. Everybody knows that he was obsessed with the Mona Lisa, but not a whole lot of people know exactly why he was obsessed with it. They can make all kinds of speculations or not.
Yeah, he wouldn't give it to the people that he was painting it for. He kept it.
Right.
Just doodling away, making more and more details to the thing. And they think it's for other purposes, hidden messages. I don't know. It was just, wow. But when they looked at it, like a couple years ago or last year, they actually put it on a computer and they did a mirror image of it. And they brought the two Mona Lisas together. It just created an alien head in arms, like a helmet. It's weird. And I'm like, and that's where it gets iffy for me. It just trails.
It's speculation in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can parlor tricks. You can do whatever, take whatever you want, and put it together, and you might be able to come up with anything.
Yeah.
So it could just be them freaking grasping at straws to try and find something,
Mm-hmm.
or
Make it alien-like.
or it could be Leonardo leaving us, clues and stuff like that, because he did leave a lot of stuff behind for us to try to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
A lot of hints and clues and stuff like that.
Like I said, it just kind of ifs for me because I think what they're doing is just trying to make aliens appear in just paintings.
Yeah, it's possible. That's what I said. It's possible.
I don't know. It was just one of those. And
It's questionable.
every painting he did that he looked at on the computer, he merged them all together. Same picture.
It was pretty cool though. I mean, it was really cool. Pretty cool. Brought it in together, and it really looked like an alien head. With the,
Mm-hmm.
You
The gray.
and the eyes. Yeah, it looked like a gray. It was really neat looking.
Yeah. Anyway, they moved on to his inventions, and they're housed in the British Museum in London, England. And in the British Museum, there's his book known as the Dresden Codex.
Everybody knows about the Codex, you know.
Arenthal.
Most
Cousin Codex of Arenthal.
most everybody knows about his Codex. That's
Yeah.
where he kept all his designs and drawings of everything.
Yeah, 200 plus pages of notes, pictures, drawings, anything, and a little bit of biography.
Yep.
Very little detail about that.
Which is actually right after he disappeared, right?
He talked about the 2 years that he was gone.
Yeah.
He ran into this cave as a young boy, and he was afraid to go in it, but somebody told him to go on it, and he did. And he was just there for 2 years. Some say he entered a time portal, or he ran into some extraterrestrials.
And was taught by them.
Yeah.
Time travel, that's actually more believable, I think, than the extraterrestrial, because, I mean, look at the things that he came up with. The first helicopter, basically, you know, which is his screw or whatever,
Yeah,
the air screw. He made a freaking glider, you know, he made the tank.
Yeah. Everything that was pretty much what he thought would be essential to them back then really wasn't. The tank wouldn't be hauled off by horses because the horses were spooked by it.
Yep.
The corkscrew was just too heavy to turn for 4 guys, and it was impractical at the time, but it was worth giving it a shot.
He was trying. He sure was trying, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. There's some weird drawings that he did in his book of these beings. So, did they look alien-like, or they're just his wild imagination just exploded? No one really knows. But the funny thing is, one person said that he was so dedicated to what he was looking at, and he would draw it down in detail. So it's either he saw something, or he just imagined it, like any other creator would, and it's possible. You never know.
Who knows?
But I never seen those pictures before until
I think I've actually seen them before on, like, you know, you catch specials on History Channel or whatever when they're talking about Da Vinci, and they show all kinds of things.
Yeah, I never caught that at all,
But that, you know, those could just be, you know, figments of his imagination.
yeah.
Something that he thought of in his brain.
Yeah, and then they moved on to saying that, you know, during that same period, there was nothing but UFO sightings across Europe, Asia, Africa, every painting you can come across.
Yeah.
In the Renaissance, there's a UFO just sitting in the background, and the famous one is the one of Jesus' baptism. And there's a silver disc with 4 beams shining on Jesus, and yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I never knew. I don't see paintings that way, but and they describe them not being smudges, not by accident, they were there.
I like the one with the Virgin Mary or whatever, where she's sitting there, and then there's that looks like a star coming down, and there's a person sitting in it, and the shepherd off in the corner shielding his eyes, you know, to look up and everything. Like, that's actually one that I really
That
like,
was interesting.
because he's looking up at something, and that
shielding his eyes.
yeah, you know,
And no one noticed until someone zoomed in on, like, oh, there's a.
yeah. And that's the thing about paintings. You really need to look at all of the painting to see what's all in there.
From the Renaissance period. There's just a wave.
Well, everywhere actually. Of all, yeah. Just look at all your art. Pay attention to your art.
Exactly. And the reason why some people say there was UFO sightings all across Europe is to make sure that things went according to plan. Like the sighting that Christopher Columbus had in the same period, to make sure that he was guided to the Americas.
Right before he found America, yeah, was.
They guided him right to the shore.
There was a UFO sighting. They talked about seeing something in the sky.
Exactly. And like I said, all of our tanks, our submarines, helicopters, hang gliders, scuba gear.
Yeah, the breathing apparatus.
Yeah, the breathing apparatus was actually interesting.
That was really cool.
Da Vinci created the air compressor.
Yeah, the first air compressor, basically.
But the British took it and made it work.
Yep.
So, hey, good for you, Da Vinci. This is where it gets kind of weird and, I don't know, it makes me kind of sick a little bit. When no college, no school would allow you in there unless both your parents were together and married.
Different time, different way of doing things.
I know.
It's
one of those things. I don't know.
You know, it's a different world now. Everybody has a chance. Back then, you're lucky if you got a chance.
Which is sad because Da Vinci was like uneducated by schooling, but he was smarter than all his predecessors, man.
Yeah, look at all the stuff that he's did in his life without an education.
Exactly.
For
Who
the most
needs
part.
school? Well, you need school for some things, but
I would suggest school.
yeah, I know. We've had this conversation before in one of our videos, It's,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know, look what happens. Some people get lucky. Some people get lucky, I will say that. But, anyway, before he was even in school, did any of the schooling, he was mostly in the woods, studying Mother Nature, rocks, bugs, water flow, the way Mother Nature worked, and he was the only artist, according to record, that actually immersed himself in nature and gave himself a sense of being.
You know, and that's funny because he learned from Mother Nature. He didn't learn from a book.
No.
He learned by actually going out and seeing what it did, what it was like, how it works.
And that's why the anatomy thing kicked in too.
Yeah.
And some say during this little field trip he took out in the Apennine Mountains is where he found the cave. So, I don't know. I don't know why they would space that story and this story further apart. You'd think it'd be in the same storyline.
Should have been, yeah,
Should have
because
been.
it's earlier in his life.
Exactly. I was
Right,
talking
you
about
know.
the cave in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they bring back the cave story. That's just my opinion. In my opinion, anyway, it just doesn't really matter. Like I said, in the caves, he may have opened time portals. He may be doing time traveling without realizing, going from the past to the present, to the future, and then back to the present with information so he could do more things. I agree. I would do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd learn from the mistakes of the past, go to the future and see what happens, and then come back to the present to make sure that the future looks good. That's what I would do.
But all without messing up the time-space continuum.
Exactly. So no ripping this way. Yeah, it's not ripping. So, in my own opinion, Da Vinci, whether he was abducted by aliens or he just opened his mind, he was smart.
It was very smart. And I mean, there's no, you got three scenarios. Basically, you got abduction of aliens, you got time traveling, or just a guy who had a great
Epiphany.
imagination and saw things in different light, you know.
Yeah.
Which one is true? We don't know. We don't know Da Vinci personally. We'll never know, you know.
Because
So
his life is very little written.
right, exactly.
Nothing he did. Only a few things that impacted his life he felt compelled to write down. And the first thing he wrote down was experiences in the cave.
All right, so what do you give it?
I still give it a B+.
B plus?
Yeah.
I'll give it a B plus. That's a good solid. It was a good solid show. Very educational on Da Vinci, and you know, I liked
Yeah,
it.
it would have been an A if they didn't try to force the alien thing down our throats.
Well, that's what I think. You know, I understand that the show's called Ancient Aliens. I understand that, and they got to try and make aliens into it all or whatever. But you don't have to try and force it on us.
Yeah.
Give us a little hint about it, and then move on, because we already know what we're watching. We already know that we're watching something about ancient aliens.
Yeah, and he, according to Tsoukalos, you know, Da Vinci knew that we weren't alone in the universe. You should have just left it at that. Don't try to bring the pictures together and make a face.
Well, a lot of people, I mean,
I know, everyone knew we weren't alone, because look at the UFO sightings they had back then.
yeah, you know, a lot of his peers in the paintings and stuff shows it, you know? Just-
Yeah. But like I said, don't cram it down our throats.
Right.
So next week is time traveling, which will relate to the Da Vinci thing with time traveling.
Can't wait for that. I'm really into time traveling, actually.
Yeah, I am too. I'm not into Stargate though. I won't ever get into Stargate. Ever. Even though it's time traveling, but
I didn't like the TV show, but I liked the movie.
the movie was good. But yeah, that's gonna be from us because it's God knows what time now.
Yep.
So we'll give this a shot one more time next week. I'll see you guys later.